I've read the news articles and the passion with which folk are speaking about Harriet Tubman, and certainly agree that she should be acknowledged. What I wanted to suggest was, for lack of a better term, and I'm sure there's another name that can be added to it, if it's an idea that's worthy of consideration, a Harriet Tubman Research Center. And the reason I say that is because Harriet Tubman is not the only woman that should be acknowledged for the work that she did at Fort Monroe. And I'm talking about people like Mary Peak. I'm talking about Mary Payne, who Mary Peak stayed with while she was doing her work. I'm talking about Fannie Mallory, who was Shepard Mallory's wife. I'm talking about others who worked at Fort Monroe's hospital. Harriet didn't work by herself. We don't know anything about these people. And wouldn't it be wonderful to have a center that does research on the women who were involved in the Fort Monroe experience? There must have, we know children were born, there must be some research out there about midwifery and how it manifested itself in the Fort Monroe area. Fort Monroe was the beginning of the Grand Contraband Camp. How did that manifest itself? Just thinking about Jerry Hollins. She's no Harriet Tubman, but in many ways she is, because of what she did. With in many instances, no support, no help, no acknowledgement, and she did this for years. Should she be part of an acknowledgement of African American women and what they did at Fort Monroe? I would suggest yes. Joan Charles, who did all of the research about the African Americans she's passed away now, but she did a great deal of work. Should she be a part of the sort of ongoing research efforts that might take place under the name of the Harriet Tubman Research Center? Amy Terrell, who did that book on slave refugee camps. We can look at it as a specific focus on Harriet Tubman, or we can use Harriet Tubman like we might use, who is the lady who sat on the bus? Yes, thank you. Rose, I used to have a mind, who sat on Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks is a sort of symbol, thank you, sir, of a larger kind of acknowledgement of those who were a part of the civil rights movement who happen to be female. We might be able to do the same thing here if we expanded the notion of Harriet Tubman to include a broader panoply of especially African American women.
I like that idea of a broader research center to honor the contributions of many women. Also want to acknowledge that, the point that Glenn made earlier, that doing something to honor the contraband story, and specifically Shepard Mallory, Baker and Townsend, who came over, and a more concrete way. The city has the bridge that crosses coming in from Mercury Boulevard, coming into Fort Monroe, I guess it was about 2 years ago now, was named in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, but also with Ray Contraband, those who first made that brave journey and set off the whole movement of the contraband. So, but if we don't have anything here on Fort Monroe, I think that appropriately acknowledges their history and their contributions and sacrifices.
Once again, the administration and the governor's office get credit for this. We are working with them now. The goal was to try and have it installed in February, and obviously things got derailed a lot, but we're working on an additional marker. There is a historic marker now that talks a lot about General Butler at the entrance to the fort, and DHO, Department of Historic Resources, has submitted presented to us with another marker that is more inclusive of the contraband story. The historic preservation officer is doing the consulting so that it actually can go in the ground and not cut a cable. And we are, in the Case Bank Museum and the National Park Service are working with the Department of Historic Resources to put our eyes on it and actually change make sure that we all agree on what the language should be. So, yeah, we just keep going in this direction. And I have to tell you, one of the proposals I've made to the Fort Monroe Foundation, just verbally, nothing formally, was, at some point we need to have a recognition dinner, and there ought to be the annual Jerry Holland Award or something like that. But I can't get over the passion that Jerry Holland had, and that it's just such an example to everyone. It's just a never give up attitude.
While we're on this particular topic, there may be other topics for open board conversation, but are there other thoughts